Have you ever paused to think about what's really happening in their mind when they dismiss or reject someone who genuinely cared for them? Let's not sugarcoat it. You gave them your time, energy, and heart. And how did they respond? They brushed it all aside like it meant nothing. Maybe they even convinced themselves you'd always stick around, no matter how little effort they gave. But then you chose silence. You pulled back. You stopped trying. For a moment, you thought this move would shock them, make them regret how they treated you. But here's the twist. They anticipated this. They saw it coming, and now they're laughing in their mind. Your silence isn't a curveball. It's the punchline to a joke they think they've already won. Oh, how predictable, they say to themselves. They think going silent will make a difference. They smirk at the thought, convinced you're sitting there hoping they'll miss you while they revel in their false sense of control. But here's where their arrogance blinds them. They think your silence is a weakness. They think you're silently begging for their attention. How laughable. They fail to realize that your silence is not about them. It's about something far more powerful. It's about you. Picture this. They're sitting comfortably, smug, convinced they've reduced you to nothing more than a memory. They believe your silence proves their dominance, that they've beaten you at their twisted little game. But what they don't understand is this. Your silence isn't a surrender. It's a declaration of freedom. Your silence says, I don't need you to see my worth. It says, I've stopped giving you the power to affect me. It's the calm after the storm, the stillness of a mind that has moved on. And here's the irony. While they think you're fading into irrelevance, you're quietly rebuilding. They assume your silence means you've given up, but in reality, you're stepping into your power. Marcus Aurelius once said, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." This is where you shift. A Stoic silence isn't about retreating, it's about reclaiming. It's about no longer seeking validation from someone who didn't value you. You're not sitting in silence to make them miss you. You're not plotting ways to make them regret losing you. You're sitting in silence because you found peace in no longer chasing. They may think they've won, but a true Stoic knows this. The real victory is in letting go. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to prove anything. Your silence is the loudest message of all. It's the sound of a person who has chosen themselves. Here's the thing about silence. It reflects who they are. While they laugh and feel smug, your silence forces them to sit with their own emptiness. It's like standing in front of a mirror. Suddenly, they're faced with their own flaws, insecurities, and arrogance. They thought your silence was predictable, but what they didn't predict was how it would reveal the cracks in their own ego. It's not your job to fix them or make them realize what they lost. That's their burden to carry. Your job is to keep walking, keep rising, and keep choosing yourself over their games. So the next time they laugh at your silence, let them. They're laughing at a version of you that no longer exists. They're stuck in the past while you're moving forward. Your silence isn't weakness, it's strength, strategy, and self-respect. It's the boldest move you can make. And when they finally realize they underestimated you, it'll be too late. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." So let your silence be your answer, not because you're waiting for them to notice, but because you've decided to rise above the noise. They thought your silence meant they'd won. Little do they know it's just the beginning of your story, and this time you're the one holding the pen. If you're ready to take control of your silence and make it your most powerful move, leave a comment below. My silence is my strength. Let the world know you've reclaimed your power. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and turn on the bell notification so you never miss a video that helps you take your power back. And here's something magical to end on. Your silence will always speak louder than words when you use it with purpose. So ask yourself, what message does my silence send to the world? Share your thoughts below, because the most valuable insights often come from within. The quiet move that shatters their illusion. They think they've won. In their mind, your silence is proof they've broken you, crushed you, left you as nothing more than a distant, irrelevant memory. They sit there, wrapped in their imagined victory, telling themselves, "I knew this would happen." They see your quiet as surrender, your withdrawal as weakness. But what they don't understand is this: silence is never what it seems. Your silence isn't the white flag they think it is. It's not submission. It's the stillness before a storm they'll never be prepared for. They expect noise, chaos, and desperate attempts to fix what they've broken. They expect you to plead for explanations or beg for closure. They thrive on those emotional outbursts because it feeds their control. But what happens when all they get is silence? That's when their confidence begins to falter. You see, they assume your silence is part of some game, a calculated move to get a reaction. They tell themselves, "I've seen this before. Push, pull, retreat, return. It's all so predictable." But what they fail to realize is that you've left the game entirely. This isn't about pulling strings or playing chess. Your silence is something much deeper. It's liberation. Think of it like a mirror. Your silence reflects their emptiness. They thrive on your reactions, on your energy. But when you pull that away, they're left staring at their own reflection, and it's a sight they can't bear. That's why they keep telling themselves you'll come back. It's easier to believe you're playing a game than to face the reality that you've truly let go. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That's exactly what your silence represents. It's not about waiting for them to notice you're gone. It's about choosing peace over chaos. It's about realizing that their approval, their recognition, their games, none of it has power over you anymore. And yet, they'll keep thinking you're watching, waiting, hoping for some sign that your absence has shaken them. They'll convince themselves you're checking your phone, waiting for that message, that apology, that moment of regret. But the truth is, you're not sitting by the phone. You're not hoping for anything. You've moved on to a place they can't follow, a place where their hold on you no longer exists. Manipulative people always assume others think the way they do. They see silence as a weapon, a way to control, to confuse, to punish. But your silence isn't a weapon, it's peace. It's the quiet of someone who no longer needs to argue, explain, or seek validation. It's the freedom of knowing you've let go of their chaos. When they realize your silence isn't a tactic, but a declaration that they no longer matter, the cracks in their imagined victory will start to show. Without your reactions, their power crumbles. They'll be left to face the one thing they've been running from all along: themselves. They thought they knew the rules, but they've been playing a petty game while you've stepped into an entirely different reality. Their imagined victory. It's hollow. They might laugh now, but one day when the weight of your absence finally sets in, they'll see the truth. You were never trying to win them back. You weren't trying to win at all. As Epictetus said, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It's won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. That's what you've done. You've chosen freedom over their games, peace over their chaos. They think they've won, but they don't realize you've already left. While they're still analyzing, doubting, and second-guessing, you're building a life where their power doesn't exist. They thought your silence was weakness, but it's the strongest move you could ever make. Some silence is the storm they never saw coming. They walk through life behind a carefully crafted mask, a facade built on lies, arrogance, and hollow confidence. To the world, they seem untouchable, commanding, even magnetic. They've mastered the act, knowing just the right words, flashing the perfect smile, and hiding their true intentions with precision. They thrive on deception because it shields the truth. Behind the mask lies insecurity, fear, and emptiness. The mask isn't made of steel, it's glass, fragile, thin, and cracking with every manipulative game they play. On the surface, they may look in control, like they've got it all together, but deep down, they know the truth. They feel the weight of their lies, the pressure building as the mask begins to crumble. They can act untouchable all they want, but cracks don't stay hidden forever. They wear this mask for one reason. They are terrified of being seen for who they really are. Their arrogance is their armor, their manipulation is their shield, and their lies are their lifeline. Without these things, they'd have to confront the person they've been running from their whole life. The hollow, insecure version of themselves they so desperately want to hide. It worked for a while, didn't it? They convinced you. They made you believe they were strong, confident, and worthy of everything you gave them. They made themselves the center of your world while treating you as disposable. But what they didn't expect was for you to wake up. When you saw through the mask, the game changed. They thought they could keep you blind to the truth, but you saw it. You saw that their indifference wasn't strength, it was fear. Every time they ignored you, dismissed your feelings, or played games with your emotions, it wasn't about control. It was about trying to avoid the inevitable. They knew they were losing you, and that terrified them. You might wonder, why do they hide? Why not just be real? The answer is simple. They've spent their life building this mask. To them, taking it off would mean facing the very things they've tried to bury: rejection, vulnerability, and failure. Nietzsche said it best. Whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster. They became the very thing they feared, a hollow shell needing power over others to feel alive. But while they hide behind their mask, you've torn yours off. You've faced your pain, your heartbreak, and your struggles head on. That's what makes you different. You didn't need to lie to survive. You didn't need to manipulate or deceive to rebuild yourself. Instead, you embraced the truth of who you are, and that truth made you stronger. Your authenticity is their worst nightmare. It shines a light on everything they try to hide. They need illusions to feel secure while you thrive on owning your reality. And here's the thing, they can only keep the mask on for so long. Every person they use, every game they play, every lie they tell adds another crack. They think they can patch it up with more manipulation, but even the strongest facade eventually shatters. When that mask finally breaks, they'll have nothing left. No lies to hide behind, no games to play, no control to cling to. They'll be left with the truth staring back at them. The truth that they were never as strong as they pretended to be, and you were never as weak as they hoped you'd be. So let them cling to their crumbling mask. It's not your job to expose them. Their own actions will do that for you. As they scramble to hold the pieces together, you'll have already moved on, building a life they can't touch. The cracks always show. They can't hide forever. And when the mask finally falls, it'll reveal what was there all along. A person desperate for power, but too afraid to face their own truth. Meanwhile, you'll already be far beyond their reach, stronger than they ever thought possible. They thought they knew you. They thought they could predict your every move. In their minds, your silence was the end, the proof that you were crushed under the weight of their absence. They expected tears, desperation, and pleas for attention. They thought you'd break, fade, and disappear into nothingness. But what they never saw coming was that your silence wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of a transformation they could never imagine. They believed they had written your final chapter, a tragedy where you stayed trapped in the ruins of what they left behind. But while they were busy basking in their imagined victory, you were quietly building in the shadows. You were becoming something they never expected, unshaken, unstoppable, and untouchable. Think of a volcano, silent, still, seemingly dormant. Beneath the surface, power is building, pressure is rising, and when it finally erupts, there's no stopping it. That's you. Your silence is not a surrender. It's the calm before a storm so powerful it will leave them speechless. They assumed they had buried you under the rubble of their indifference, but what they didn't realize is that you were using that silence to rebuild. Every piece of pain they had caused you became the foundation for something greater. Janet Fitch once said, "The phoenix must burn to emerge." They thought they reduced you to ashes, but ashes are where legends are born. You are the phoenix rising from the flames of their betrayal, turning destruction into creation and pain into power. They expected you to be a victim. They never expected a warrior. While they celebrated your perceived downfall, you were sharpening your mind, fortifying your soul, and preparing for a comeback so profound it would leave them stunned. Every sleepless night, every whispered doubt, every tear shed in silence, it all became fuel for your transformation. Frank Sinatra once said, "The best revenge is massive success." But here's the thing, it's not about revenge. It's not about proving anything to them. It's about rising so far beyond their reach that their opinions and actions no longer matter. While they're stuck in the past, you're living a future so bright it blinds anyone who ever doubted you. They thought you needed them. They believed your silence was a ploy to make them miss you. But what they never understood is that your silence wasn't for them. It was for you. You stopped chasing, stopped explaining, stopped wasting your energy on someone who couldn't see your worth. Instead, you turned that energy inward, fueling your goals, dreams, and purpose. Remember the lion in the jungle? It doesn't announce its presence with constant roars. Its power is felt in its silence, its calm strength, its quiet dominance. That's you. You don't need to prove your strength. It's already there, undeniable and unshakable. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." They expected your reaction, anger, heartbreak, chaos. But your lack of response has shattered their illusion of control. They thought they were holding the strings, but you've been cutting them one by one until there's nothing left for them to pull. When they finally realize what you've become, it will be too late. They'll sit there wondering where you went, what you're thinking, and if you ever cared at all. But by then, you'll be miles ahead, living a life so full and vibrant that their absence feels like nothing more than a distant memory. Let them think they've won. Let them analyze and second-guess your silence, believing you're still playing their game. It doesn't matter, because while they're stuck trying to figure you out, you've already left. You've entered a world where their control, their opinions, and their power no longer exist. You are the storm they never saw coming, the ending they never expected, and the beginning they'll never forget. Imagine a ship caught in a violent storm, waves crashing, winds howling, chaos all around. At first glance, it looks as though the ship might sink, lost to the sea. But deep beneath the surface, an anchor holds it steady, silent, unseen, and unyielding. That anchor keeps the ship grounded through the worst of it. That anchor is you, your inner strength, your calm, your ability to stand firm despite the chaos. That is your power. They thought you were like every other ship, drifting aimlessly, destined to break apart under pressure. They laughed at your silence, mistaking it for weakness, and assumed they had defeated you. But they underestimated what lies within you. Reclaiming power like a Stoic isn't about fighting the storm. It's about refusing to let it control you. It's about being the anchor, unshaken, and unbreakable. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. This truth is what separates you from them. They thrive on chaos, creating confusion, stirring emotions, and pulling strings. They expect you to react, to crumble, to seek their validation. But when you master your mind, their attempts lose all power. Reclaiming your power doesn't mean ignoring the pain or pretending nothing happened. It means acknowledging the hurt, facing it, and then letting it go. Think of a candle burning in the darkest night. No matter how thick the darkness grows, the candle continues to shine, steady, calm, and resilient. That's you. They thought they extinguished your light, but they never realized your flame burns from within. They wanted you to depend on them, to crave their attention, their approval. They needed you to believe your worth was tied to how they treated you. But when you stopped reacting, when you chose silence not as defeat, but as liberation, you took away the one thing they relied on, your energy. Seneca wisely said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." They crave control over you, power to manipulate your emotions, and dominance over your peace. But true power doesn't come from making others submit. It comes from standing tall, even when the storm rages. Think of a puppet on strings, controlled by someone who thinks they're in charge. That's how they viewed you, something to pull and push, expecting you to dance to their tune. But what they didn't realize is that you've been holding the blade all along. The moment you chose to cut those strings, you reclaimed yourself. You became free. Epictetus once said, "We suffer not from events, but from our judgments about them." You can't control what they did or the chaos they brought into your life, but you can control how you respond. That is where your true power lies. They hoped you'd hold on to the past, to anger, to heartbreak, but you chose to rise above it, to let it make you better, not bitter. They thought your silence meant surrender, but it was a declaration of independence. While they're still stuck in their world of games and manipulation, you've stepped into a new realm where their power no longer exists. You've become the anchor that holds steady, the flame that never dies, and the person who no longer needs anything from anyone. You've reclaimed your power, not by confronting them or seeking revenge, but by transforming yourself. You've shown that true strength comes from within, and nothing they do can take that from you. They thought they had control, but they were wrong. You've risen higher than they ever imagined, unshaken by their storms, untouchable by their chaos. This is your power. You are the anchor they couldn't break, the flame that keeps burning through the darkest nights, and now you're unstoppable. They're convinced you're out of moves, laughing at what they think is their inevitable victory. But just when they're basking in their supposed triumph, you make the move they never saw coming. The tables turn in an instant, and their confidence shatters. They thought your silence meant defeat. They believed they had written you off, boxed you into a narrative where you were broken, stuck, and consumed by the pain they caused. But what they never realized was that your silence wasn't the end of your story. It was the foundation of your transformation. Think of a seed buried deep beneath the soil. To the outside world, it appears lifeless, forgotten, but beneath the surface, something extraordinary is happening. The roots are spreading, the strength is building, and one day that seed bursts through the ground stronger than anyone expected. That's you. They thought they buried you, but they didn't realize they were planting the beginning of your rise. Lao Tzu once said, "Silence is a source of great strength." What they failed to understand is that silence isn't emptiness, it's potential. It's energy redirected, quietly fueling growth and resilience. While they were busy celebrating your absence, you were evolving into someone unstoppable. The move they never anticipated wasn't revenge or confrontation, it was your transformation. They expected you to stay trapped in the past, replaying the pain, longing for closure, and holding on to the memory of what they did. But they missed the part where you let go. They assumed your silence was about them, a desperate attempt to make them miss you. But your silence was never about them. It was about you reclaiming your power, your peace, and your future. Picture a chessboard. They believed they were in control, orchestrating every move, dictating the game. But what they didn't realize is that you stopped playing entirely. They were stuck on the same old board while you walked away, leaving them frozen in a game that no longer mattered. Rumi once said, "The wound is where the light enters you." They thought they broke you with their indifference, their games, their betrayal. But every wound they caused became a doorway to your strength. Every time they dismissed you or underestimated you, they unknowingly handed you the tools to build something they could never touch. They believed their absence would define you, but you used that space to rebuild yourself. While they were stuck replaying their tired tactics, you were creating a life so full, so vibrant and so powerful that their opinion became irrelevant. They thought they were the center of your story, but you rewrote the script. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." That's exactly what you've done. You stopped reacting, stopped explaining, stopped waiting for them to see your worth. Instead, you found freedom, not in proving them wrong, but in realizing you never needed to prove anything at all. They thought they were the main character, but now they're left watching a story they don't recognize. The person they thought they defeated no longer exists. In their place stands someone they can't control, someone who no longer reacts, someone thriving without them. Their biggest mistake was underestimating you. They expected drama, chaos, noise. What they never expected was stillness, resilience, and growth. Silence terrifies people like them because it forces them to confront the emptiness they've been running from. They laughed at what they thought was your downfall, but they didn't realize you were becoming something extraordinary. They thought they had control, but you've risen so far beyond their reach that their power is meaningless. You are the move they never anticipated, the transformation they couldn't stop, the ending they thought they controlled, but the beginning they'll never escape. While they're stuck in the past, you're living a future so full and so bright they'll never catch up. You were the treasure they never deserved. Imagine a hunter chasing a mirage in the desert, believing it to be a priceless treasure. They run with desperation, thinking they found something rare, something irreplaceable. But when they finally reach it, they realize it was never real, just an illusion born from their own greed. That's them. They walked away convinced they were the prize, the one worth chasing, the one you couldn't live without. They believed their absence would leave you broken, longing, and incomplete. Oh, how wrong they were. The prize was never them. It was always you. But they were too arrogant, too blinded by their own inflated sense of importance to see it. They convinced themselves they were irreplaceable, that their presence brought value to your life. In reality, they were the mirage, an empty illusion you finally saw for what it was, meaningless. While they basked in the idea that you couldn't live without them, they missed the truth. You were the one who gave love, loyalty, and authenticity. You were the one who stayed, who cared, who believed in something real. Maya Angelou said it best. Never make someone a priority when all you are to them is an option. That's exactly what happened. You made them your priority while they treated you like an afterthought, something disposable, something easily replaced. They thought being chased made them valuable, but real worth isn't found in being desired. Real worth comes from being irreplaceable, from being someone whose absence is truly felt because of the light they bring. They believed their presence made you whole, but they never realized it was your light that illuminated everything around them. Without you, they're just ordinary. Ask yourself this: what did they actually offer you? Was it kindness, respect, and loyalty, or was it manipulation, shallow promises, and games designed to keep you hooked? They wanted your love and energy, but they gave nothing in return. As Seneca once said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. They craved your attention, fed off your care, and never stopped to see that what they were taking was something rare, something priceless. They walked away believing they left you behind, but they didn't leave you. They left the best thing that ever happened to them. They assumed someone else could replace what you brought into their life, but deep down, they know the truth. You were never like the others. What you offered, the love, the strength, the depth, can't be found in the empty connections they chase now. You were the treasure, not because of what you gave, but because of who you are. Someone with a kind heart, someone who shows up even when it's hard, someone who loves deeply. They'll never find that again, no matter how hard they search or how many people they use to fill the void. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us." Your worth was always inside you. It was never determined by their approval, their games, or their decision to stay or leave. It was there all along, even when you couldn't see it through the fog of their manipulation. Let them think they were the prize. Let them believe they were special. It doesn't matter anymore. While they're stuck in their illusion, you've moved past it. You've stepped into a world where you see your value clearly, where you set the standard, where you are the prize. They'll realize it one day, but by then, it'll be too late. They'll look back and see the treasure they lost while chasing illusions. And you'll be thriving, living a life so full and complete that their absence is nothing more than a faint memory. You've always been the treasure they never deserved, and now they'll never have access to you again. The collapse they never saw coming. Picture a tower built from stolen bricks, pieces taken from others, held together with lies and manipulation. From the outside it looks impressive, towering, untouchable, but inside it's hollow. The cracks run deep, hidden from view but growing with every false promise, every betrayal, every shallow victory. That's them. They spent their life climbing higher, using people as stepping stones, pretending to be invincible. But no matter how high they climbed, the foundation was always fragile, and sooner or later the fall was inevitable. They didn't see it coming. They were too busy celebrating their imagined superiority, convinced that they'd left you broken in their wake. They thought you were just another chapter they had closed, another pawn they had outplayed. But life doesn't work like that. Life always collects its debts. While they were chasing meaningless validation and distractions, you were rebuilding. They assumed their absence would destroy you, but instead, it freed you. You stopped explaining, stopped chasing, and stopped hoping for them to see your worth. Their games no longer mattered because you weren't playing anymore. Think of a tower in a storm. They thought they were weathering the winds, but the cracks they ignored have been growing. And when the collapse comes, it's sudden, devastating, inescapable. That's the fall they never saw coming. The poet Percy Bysshe Shelley said, "Fear not for the future, weep not for the past." But that's exactly what they'll do. Weep for what they've lost, for the opportunities they threw away, for the love they'll never feel again. At first, they'll pretend. They'll act like life is perfect, like nothing has changed. But pretense only lasts so long. In the quiet moments, when there's no one left to fool, the weight of what they've done will crush them. They'll remember you. They'll remember how you showed up with loyalty, patience, and love, qualities they never appreciated. They'll remember how you fought for them, forgave them, and believed in them, even when they didn't deserve it. And they'll remember how they pushed you away over and over, convinced you'd always come back until the day you didn't. Heraclitus once said, "Character is destiny." Their destiny was shaped by the lies they told, the trust they shattered, the hearts they broke. They believed they could live without consequences, but life always balances the scales. They'll try to fill the void with fleeting validation and shallow connections, but nothing will replace what they lost. They'll search for someone like you, but people like you don't come around twice. You were the one who gave, who cared, who stayed. You were the one who saw the best in them, even when they couldn't see it themselves. And they squandered it. They didn't just lose you, they lost the future you, the person you became after walking away, the version of you they'll never manipulate, never hurt, never control again. Marcus Aurelius once said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live." While you've been living boldly, building a life of strength and purpose, they've been trapped, stuck in a cycle of empty games and endless regret. They're prisoners of the very lies they built their world on, and you've risen far beyond their reach. While they're stuck in the ruins of their own making, you're thriving. You've built something they can never touch, a life filled with strength, freedom, and authenticity. That's the truth they'll never escape. The collapse was inevitable because the tower was never solid. They thought they were winning, but the truth is, they were never even in the game. While they remain trapped in the wreckage, you rise, stronger, wiser, untouchable. They'll remember you as the one they lost. But by then, even their memories won't matter to you anymore. The fall was theirs to bear, and the rise was always yours to claim.